Internet, and welcome to Retro Nick Relics, a retro video game show where I give you my 2-bit opinion on these 8 through 32-bit relics. Today, we're taking a trip to planet Saturn to learn all about
Street Fighter.
That's right, Street Fighter the movie turns 30 this year. 30? Oh, good grief. 1994 couldn't have been 30 years ago. Anyway, so we're going to talk about Street Fighter the movie, the game. The bad video game adaptation of the bad movie adaptation of the genre-defining fighting game series. The home version of Street Fighter the movie the game is basically Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo wearing Mortal Kombat skin. From a gameplay perspective, it's actually pretty competent. Solid even, if a little slow.
Something was said. Not good. What was it?
Slow? They called you slow! How dare you call me that?
Hey, homie, you still here? Boy, you are slow.
Aesthetically, however, the goofy-looking actors are goofy-looking digitized fighters in what is a washed-out, muddy, and generally ugly mess, which plants it firmly in Kusoge, or crappy game territory. The arcade version came out first, and it's a completely different game. Graphics are a major step up, but I mean, look at it. This is what Street Fighter 2 would look like if they made it for the Jaguar.
With 64 bits, 3D graphics, real-world animation, and lightning speed that you can only get with Jaguar, which is more advanced! Good.
Can you repeat the question?
Jaguar! Jaguar! Jaguar!
Now, it's easy to blame the movie since there aren't a ton of positive things you can borrow from it. But hey, as bad, overacted, and as silly as it was, it still offers up one of the greatest movie quotes of all time.
You don't remember?
For you, the day bison graced your village was the most important day of your life. But for me, it was Tuesday.
You win. Perfect.
Fatality.
And it's only half the raging dumpster fire that the 2009 motion picture Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li was. Remember when M. Bison performed an emergency C-section in a cave? With his hands? Unlike The Legend of Chun-Li, Street Fighter the movie and its video game counterparts get by on camp. That's why they're so much easier to forgive than a creepy weirdo using a lady as a punching bag. Now, if you're like me, you probably know that the differences between the arcade and home versions go more than skin deep. But I'm not the greatest at fighting games. So I've invited a Street Fighter aficionado to give us a real breakdown of how the Saturn version compares to its arcade counterpart.
Here comes a new challenger!
Why, thank you, Nick. As a Street Fighter enthusiast, it's easy to see why these two games were quickly buried and forgotten, never to be spoken of again. But then again, mistakes are an opportunity to learn.
You can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs.
And boy, did we learn a lot with these two. Let's start things off with the arcade version of Street Fighter the movie. Hot off the heels of the blockbuster hit movie,
Damn it!
the arcade game was developed by Incredible Technologies, published by Capcom, and unleashed into arcades in 1995. The game bears the Street Fighter name, but that's where the similarities end. One of the more prominent changes are the addition of juggles, especially of the aerial variety. Fighters are encouraged to use a launcher to get their opponent airborne and to hit them repeatedly as they fall. This is further emphasized by adding cancels to most normal and special moves, allowing the player to cancel one move into another to keep their combos going. The super meter also sees some added versatility. As you use special moves, your super meter grows, and once full, you can use it in a few different ways. Most characters now have 2 super moves, but you can also use a regeneration move, which will refill some of your health, though you'll most likely be hit out of the move in the middle or end of it, negating the whole thing. All of the pre-existing characters have most of their original moves, though some of the input commands have been changed around and new moves have been added, such as Cammy's Get Over Here whip move,
Get over here!
and Guile's handcuffs, which admittedly is a nice nod to the original Street Fighter II. The last major addition are the interrupts. These are counter moves with simple commands that players enter as they're blocking an incoming attack, similar to the counters seen later in the Street Fighter Alpha series. While some interrupts are more effective than others, they do serve to keep the game at a frantically fast pace. There's also a hidden tag team mode that can be enabled during the character select screen. Now, on paper, none of these changes seem crazy by today's standards, but it's the execution that makes taking this game seriously an exercise in futility. Character balance is virtually non-existent, the gameplay is too fast and choppy due to the digitized animation, move priority is unpredictable, and the hit detection is spotty at times. But it is fun to mess around and discover some of the absurd combos and to soak in all the goofiness. Now, let us get in our boat and go upriver to take a look at the Sega Saturn and PlayStation games, which are functionally different. Remember all that weird stuff I just talked about being in the arcade game? Toss all that out the window. Gone are the air juggles, multiple supers, health regeneration, and interrupts. And what we have here is essentially a game that basically plays much like Super Street Fighter II Turbo. You still have a super meter that fills as you perform special moves, only this time you can use your super meter on your one super move, or you can perform super attack moves as long as you have half your meter filled. Super attacks are similar to EX moves from other Street Fighter games, and are beefed up special moves that connect for more hits and do more damage. If your super meter is full, you can use unlimited super attack moves until you perform your super move or the round ends. The rest of the game plays much like your standard Street Fighter game of the era. That is to say, while the game is once again choppy due to the animation and not nearly as responsive as Super Street Fighter II Turbo, there is less jank here, and things do make a lot more sense from a traditional Street Fighter perspective.
Oh. Is it any good?
No, not really. However, this game holds a special place in my heart. Despite it being completely derpy, I just appreciate how goofy and funny this game is. There's a certain kind of low-budget charm in seeing the Street Fighter cast and environments being digitized, and I actually kind of like some of the background music. Not to mention, Zangief looks spot on. I mean, look at this dude. He's a total mean meat mountain who got paid in cold, hard bison bucks.
You got paid?
Anyways, let me hand it back to the professional amateur himself.
Something said, not good.
Get the hell out of here!
Here comes a new challenger!
Thank you so much, Alex. Here's that plug I owe you that's almost worth as much as a briefcase full of bison dollars.
This money isn't worth the paper it's printed on.
On the contrary.
Please be sure to listen to Alex, John, and Jeff on Retro Game Squad, a podcast where you can hear me babble on from time to time about more prime examples of Kusoge. You can find their show at RetroGameSquad.com or follow them on Twitter with the handle @RetroGameSquad.
Attention! A change in the duty roster.
Most of the characters from the film make their return, with a few notable exceptions. Dalsim really wasn't much of a fighter in the movie, and I don't think they had the stones to put that actor in a pair of yellow shorts and make him stretchy. And T-Hawk is missing because the actor who portrayed him in the movie saw the writing on the wall and hightailed it out of there before they started shooting game footage.
We did the right thing.
Akuma didn't appear in the movie, but he was added to the roster as a hidden character. Hiding out of embarrassment, no doubt. There's Captain Sawada, who exists as a compromise for the actor of the same name not being cast as Ryu in the film. Quick sidebar, Capcom wanted to make Kenya Sawada into their own personal action star, kind of like a more serious Segata Sanshiro, but they couldn't make it work due to his limited English.
Colonel. Yes? A single boat against everything he's got? The pilot would have to be out of his mind.
Everything about Sawada feels like an afterthought. I mean, check out this super combo. Enough said. There were 4 palette swap ninjas in the arcade version.
You want to run that by me again?
I meant bison guards that got dropped from the Saturn and PlayStation ports. But we get to keep Sawada.
Whoop-de-doo.
We also got digitized versions of Blanca and DJ, who were exclusive to the home version, and obviously a rushed hack job because they somehow look even worse than the characters from the arcade. Let's talk about the overall presentation.
It stinks. It stinks. It stinks.
Everything in this game, from the backgrounds and character sprites to the menu graphics, and even the fonts used, are distractingly ugly.
I know I'm ugly. I went to a freak show to let me in for nothing.
Sure, the arcade version is a mess in its own way, but at least it doesn't look like the video game equivalent of a botched nose job.
Hiya, Mikey.
Oh, is that a new hat or is it time to change the bandage?
This game is uglier than homemade soap, and you can't just blame digitized graphics either. Games like Mortal Kombat 2, Shinobi Legions, and WrestleMania the arcade game are proof that the style can work. But proper implementation would probably just highlight how dorky looking everything is. Just like the arcade version.
Ha ha! We don't know when we've gone too far.
The character select screen does this annoying TV static transition when you cycle through the roster. Who thought that was a good idea? As my buddy Alex mentioned, the music is actually pretty good, and it's the only improvement from the arcade original. Just listen to how some of its tracks compare to Street Fighter Alpha 2. Still, as good as the music is, it can't offset the Ultra Vortex-esque visuals.
Was that too mean?
One of the more unique features of the game is the movie battle mode, which loosely follows the plot, if you can call it that, of Street Fighter the movie, forcing you to play as Guile, who corresponds with Cammy, as they try to locate Bison's secret base within a time limit. You can choose your path, which determines who you fight, which creates some replayability. Or it would if this game were easier to look at.
How can you be so mean to someone so meaningless?
So, what do I think? Street Fighter the movie, the game, is an interesting footnote in video games history. By which I mean, it looks like something I could draw with my feet.
My teacher tells me real beauty's on the inside.
That's just something ugly people say.
It's shocking that they thought this was going to be Street Fighter 3 or that it would be able to compete with Mortal Kombat. Still, it plays like Street Fighter, so it's not all bad. It's like having a sturdy, dependable St. Bernard with the head of a Chinese crested. I give the Sega Saturn port of Street Fighter the movie, the game, 5 naked mole rats out of 10.
Wait, there's more. Here comes a new challenger!
I spend so much time dispensing my own opinions that I thought it might be nice to read a couple of yours for a change. Here's what people had to say about my review of Osamatsu-kun for the Sega Mega Drive. John and Jane Doe 81 writes, "Dude, I really like your video. Just cut out the salt and pepper wars between the clips, and you are solid." There were a lot of these comments actually, but hey, I fixed it. And as my good friend Alex will tell you,
mistakes are an opportunity to learn.
Trollbot commented,
The PC Engine was actually inferior in every way.
Somehow I doubt it, Sega boy.
Outtrack wrote us a story, commenting, "Most of the games in South Africa during the 90s were gray market imports, and my first ever Mega Drive/Genesis cart was a 4-in-1 that I got pretty much just for X-Men, as it was hugely popular at the time. The game wasn't great, but there was a neat fourth wall breaking trick in one of the levels that required you to restart the computer. To progress to the next stage, you had to push the actual reset button on the console. But that button was also repurposed by whoever assembled the multi-cart for skipping to the next game. So each time I tried it, instead of getting to the final level to take on Magneto, I'd just end up on the Osamatsu-kun title screen instead. It's been like 30 years, and I still have an intense hatred for this god-awful thing."
No! Dude! No f***ing way!
And finally, Rolls 7 challenged Osamatsu-kun's throne as the worst of the worst, saying, "Sword of Sodan, Slaughter Sport, XDR, Hard Drivin', and Dark Castle are all widely considered to be worse than this game, and might be the true top 5 worst games on the system." Rolls 7 might have a point.
That is one big pile of shit.
Thank you all so much for tuning into Retro Nick Relics. If you liked this video, please be sure to slap those like and subscribe buttons, and to tune in again to find out what I dig up next. I'm Retro Nick.
And you'd be too if you were me.
Game over! Intruder destroyed.